Had a good lunch? Okay.
Yes, doctor.
Good. Hopefully you're not sleepy, Okay. Any questions from maybe you've thought about some questions over the lunch period? Do you have any questions? Any questions so far?
Doctor,
Yeah.
I just want to check with you regarding for the presentations for slide 6 to 9, right? We need intend to deploy your HR strategy. So this one would mean that, so can I talk about like training or how to the recruitment process, or what should I include in this slide?
Okay, basically what I'm trying to say is, because all these are, let me just go to the slide. Just share my slide screen. Yeah, this one.
Sure.
So basically, it is the implementation portion of it. That means you have given an idea of how you recruit, how you plan to motivate, how you plan to train people, right? So these are all the things that you are talking about in terms of the plan. But now you are intending to implement it. Okay, so when you implement it, obviously implementation. Sorry.
最近你拍的，看，对，哎呦，这样你手黑黑的。
Implementation will probably go deeper into the plans that you have, right? So that means, for example, when you talk about recruitment, maybe some of the plans or implementation is that you may think about putting ads here or talking to universities, or having business review sessions. So those kind of things that you are looking at, right? And as you are implementing this, you will follow up with what kind of challenges they may face during the implementation. For example, when you're trying to motivate people after they come in, or when you have onboarding of the employees, what are the kind of challenges you may face? Maybe one challenge would be the level of knowledge they have, or when they come into your company, right? If it's an existing company, or maybe the cultural differences that you may have between the old staff. Let's say, example, you're trying to transform your business between the old staff and the new staff coming in. So this could be challenges. So what do you do? How are you able to manage all these challenges? Right. So these are some of the things that you may want to look at. Huh? If let's say it's new company and you are totally new, what are the fears that your company, the human resource people may come in? Maybe they have fears of whether are they going to be paid on a monthly basis. So what would you do when you assume these are the kind of challenges you may face? So basically, these are the slides that you want to look at. Does it make sense to you?
So, doctor, is it mean this is extra from our assignment one? Something more than that?
Correct. It's extra because
Okay,
you talk about it. The assignment 2 is really, the emphasis is on deployment, application, and presentation. So obviously, when you present, one of the things that we'll mark is how well you present it. So if your presentation is going to be very worthy, you may lose a lot of marks, because you must assume that you're presenting it to your top management or maybe to an investor. So what do they want to see? All right.
Okay.
Hi, doctor.
Yeah.
If let's say the business I'm going to choose very new in Malaysia, so there is an existing player in the market. Actually, this business is more to automations. So shall I use their name in my assignment, or I create a virtual company for these assignments like that?
So that means you are trying to model that the name, the company, right? In this
Yeah.
assignment, right? So
Yeah.
what you can do is, if you think that you have permission to use the name, it's fine. If not, you can use a pseudonym, another name to
Another
represent the
name.
company. Yeah.
Because
You understand?
I don't know. I think this is business very interesting in currently is quite new and very I think it will be popular in the Malaysia in future maybe. So there's a yeah more business model is more to automation. That's why I wonder how to do on the HR strategy or resources like that.
But even automation, you need people to manage the company, isn't it? Correct? So what kind of company do you need? Right? So those are the things that you need to think about the company, the people that you need to manage this kind of company. So which is different. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Can.
Any other questions? I think the first session, someone asked about the business model canvas, and you wanted me to go through the business model canvas. Do you want me to go that, or do you want me to go through some other specific areas? Is there any particular specific areas that you may want me to go through to have a better understanding?
The business model canvas. Yes.
Okay. Okay, let me just answer some questions. If I were to use the same business for my previous assignment, would the plagiarism be affected? Yes. So make sure that if you're using the same company or same thing from your previous assignment, make sure you paraphrase it. Okay, because technically you cannot use the same thing that you've done, even though it is your own work. Right? You cannot actually use it. So make sure you paraphrase it. For the solution to reduce fears on new employees, do we need to do citation and analysis? I think you also need to do some form of analysis in the form that why do you think there'll be fear in the first place? So there'll be some citation and analysis even in the second assignment. But I won't think that you have a lot of it because it's more about the practical application of it rather than theory. Okay. Let's see what else. This is model campus. Okay, I'll go through the business model campus if you don't have any other questions. I was trying to upload this slide just now, but there was some issue, but I'll do it afterwards. Huh? Hold on a minute. Let me check my campus. Okay. Okay. Please stop me whenever you feel like it, so that I can address the questions immediately. Now, so your business model canvas is actually a representation of the entire business. If you look at it, what is a business model to you? A direction, a strategy, okay, vision. A business model, in a sense, actually is how you intend to make money. Okay, it's a way in which the company makes money. So the business model canvas helps you to understand the composition of the business so that you can make money more effectively. Right? So if you look at it, some of the questions you may think about when you are looking at your business model are who are your customers? Now, when you talk about customers, you have to be very specific because you cannot target one product for everybody. It used to be that way. Last time, it used to be one product, and immediately your target market is to target everybody. But today, you can't because it becomes too complicated. You don't have the resources to do it. So when you describe your customers, you have to be very clear about your customers. That means you must be able to visualize your customers. So can you give me some examples of kind of business you want to do so we can try to craft up your customers? Anybody wants to give me an example of a product that you intend to do? Florists, okay. So let's talk about florists now. Florists, obviously, there'll be a lot of florists now. Bloomingdale, I think there's a lot more. Now, are there, first of all, which customers are you looking at, and what is the problem that you think you want to solve regarding florist industry? So, Rebecca, what do you think?
I think there is lack of the information of the flower in the flower industry. People in the market now in Malaysia, people just sell without emphasizing the language of the flower. So this is a kind of knowledge that also a type of appreciation to show when you send this flower to someone that you want to deliver to.
Okay, so that's the assumption you're making, right? That people want to know what kind of flowers. Now, in your mind, who do you think would want to know that? Because I think if you look at some of the florists, people just want to get a flower across to their loved ones. Sometimes they will just ask a florist, oh, what kind of florist you settle for me? You tell me what kind of flowers I should get. So they leave it to the florist. But if I were to put information like this, who do you think would want to have understanding of the flowers before they send it out? In your mind.
Okay, I'm thinking.
You see, so you have to be very clear now, because what you're trying to say is this assumption you're making, and then you push it out to the market. What you may find out is at the end that actually customers do not really care about what kind of information. They just want to get the flowers out to their loved ones. So although it's a nice effort, right, you have to balance between, do I have the resources to do it? Is it going to be extra cost? And does the customer want it? Because if you do all these things, yes, it's good. But because of the cost is becoming more and more, you may have to charge it back to the customers and increasing your price of the flowers, and then your flowers may not sell. So that is the thing that you have to look at. So you have to match your expectations of the customers. Right? That is an important part. You understand what I'm trying to say? So, for example, maybe people who sells it, who sends flowers to very sensitive customers, example maybe flowers to death or something. Now, before they do that, and the environment requires them to understand what kind of flowers they must have to send to this kind of sensitive customers, then maybe they want to have information like this. And because they are not able to talk to florists, they might want to have information like this. So the customers set that will want this kind of information are very different from the average customers. Okay, because if you look at a business, there is, I don't know whether you heard of something called the adoption curve, the technology adoption curve or product adoption curve. It is a curve that goes through different cycles, and they have in any adoption, they have these early adopters or innovators, the first one, then early adopters, then early majority, late majority, and laggards, right? So between early adopters and early majority, there's this chasm, this hole in the middle. And sometimes it's very difficult to move from early adopters to early majority. So it's important to understand who are your early adopters, especially if you're talking about new services. Who are they? What kind of problem do they face? Okay. So here, when you talk about customers, be very clear about your customers. So example, I think one of them we are talking about clothing. Okay. Now, Kevin, talk about clothing. Okay. Now, what kind of clothing are you talking about?
House clothing, something that we
Okay,
have.
house clothing. Maybe you assume that there's a problem. People are now stuck at home, right? So
Yep,
maybe
yes.
house clothing. Okay, good. So who are the people that you think will have this to buy this clothing?
Generally, those who work from home, working from home.
So even though you talk about work from home, there's a segment, right? Not everybody will buy clothing.
Yes.
Some people maybe because of limitations of resources, they are very careful. They don't even buy new clothes. They will use existing clothes. So who do you think are the people who works from home who want to buy new clothing? Right? So you have to really think about who your customers are. Then only you can understand the problems they are facing. What kind of problems would I be facing for me to buy your clothing? And what is the difference, the selling proposition you have compared to other things? Why can't I just buy from Lazada? Right? Are your clothing special? Does it make me more alert when I'm staying at home and looking at Zoom? What kind of specialty do you have? So these are the things that you probably need to think about when you are doing your business, right? And I want you to put that in your business model canvas. So when you go into your business model canvas, you cannot be too broad. You have to be very specific because then they know that you have thought through who your customers are, right? How do you acquire them? Okay, so understanding your customers is important. How do you acquire them? How do you acquire the customers? That's important because you're talking about the channels of acquisition. And things you have to think about is, example, different channels may be suited for different customers, and it will also impact the cost of acquisition. Later, I got a lot more questions, which I will use for you to help you think about. Other things you have to think about is after you getting your customers, how do you build a relationship with them? So this is where you talk about your your channels and your activities to build retention with your customers. Then you need to think about how do you charge your customer. Now, how do you charge and how much you charge are two different things. Some models you may see, example, I base my services on subscription like Netflix, right? Or some of them is based on transaction. I give you a service, you pay me. Some of them give you a new free product, but they charge you for after sales service. Or some of them they just charge you as a member to get information. So you have to think about how do you intend to charge your customer in your business. Obviously, if you are selling products and services, maybe it's just a sales, selling and getting commission. Okay. Then you have to think about how much you charge them. Now, how do you know how much to charge them? I guess it's based on competitors that you have and how much you think the market is going to pay for. Now, here, this will also tie into the value you're bringing to your customers in terms of the value proposition. Now, have you noticed why do all of you buy from Lazada and Shopee? Let me just see. Okay. Do you know that when you go to Lazada or Shopee, you want to buy one product, thousands of competitors come in with the same product, right? And then you might notice that there's different pricing to the product, and yet they can still sell. Why? How come the same product, different pricing, can still sell? Quality is okay. Example, quality is the same. Delivery time, okay. Let's say example is the same. Some of them still they'll say they're ready stock. They can deliver immediately, right? So the fact is when you see same product, sometimes almost the same, and you know that they probably got it from the same supplier as well. Yet you choose to buy from different products, different companies, suggests that people look at more than price to buy a product. That means what is the value to them. So it's important when you talk about value proposition. It's not only about low cost pricing, it's about what kind of value they perceive that you're giving them. Now, I always like to make this comparison. If let's say, example, you come across umbrella, you know those China-made umbrella where you can it's a pocket-based umbrella. Now, how much would you pay for that kind of umbrella? That pocket-based umbrella, 10 ringgit, okay, good. Next 10 ringgit, okay, good. So I ask the same questions, everybody tell me the same answer. Then, okay, now, would you, in your right mind, ever pay for, let's say, the same umbrella, 40 ringgit? No. So Su Ching say yes, sir. Under what circumstances would you pay 40 ringgit? I can't hear you.
Let's say I need to travel for overseas like Japan or special weather that need to stand for high wind blow, definitely I will buy a special better quality. If let's say like Malaysia weather, just a standard is sufficient.
No, it's the same quality. It's just that you're paying different pricing for the same quality. Right?
Then no.
So that means, no, okay. So I just like to sorry, can I mute you, Su Ching? I mute you first.
Okay.
So now, the value is depending on the perception of value. If I tell you that, this example, yes, desperate time, you are now late for a meeting, you are standing in front of, let's say, crossing the road, suddenly it pause, and this is a very important meeting, and you have to get to the meeting. On the right side, you see an umbrella seller. They sell the same umbrella that you get for 10 ringgit, now for 40 ringgit. Would you buy it? The same umbrella. In those normal circumstances, at 10 ringgit, now would you buy it? Yeah, so yes. So it depends on the value that people look at that point in time, right? So sometimes it's not about the pricing. So that's why the value proposition that you're providing to your customers is important. What is the value perception that the customer has? Okay, which is part of your business model. How are you differentiating yourself? So sometimes, in order for you to understand the value to your customers, you must know the customers very well, right? Now, how do you know the customers very well? Obviously, the business model canvas is just a hypothesis. What you need to do is to get out of the building and talk to them. That is for people who actually want to build a business. All right? But for this assignment, what we hope to see is some idea in detail about your perception of a customer in detail, the kind of value assumptions you're making for that particular customers in terms of what they see the value is. All right? Okay, so how much do you charge them? Now, what resources are available to you and what you control, these are important as well. It's important because if you are not able to control the resources and that resource is important, it may affect the way you deliver the products and services to your customer. Okay? Do you have partners in a business? Who are they? What do you have to do to deliver your unique selling proposition and what it costs? So these are the broad questions that you may have in your business. So the business model canvas helps you articulate and put into perspective all the different components. So these are the things that you probably need to look at. Who are your customers, right? What products, services are you offering? How do you reach them? And what's the relationship? How much are they going to pay? From here is the activities you need to do. Who do you rely on and resources you have to deliver the products and services to your customer? And what is the cost structure? So, if I were to go down deeper, these are areas we talk about in terms of your revenue. The customer, your relationship, your channels will influence the revenue that you get from them. That means for what value is your customer really willing to pay? And maybe you have to think about what do they currently pay for the same solution, maybe from a competitor. On the left side is your cost factor. The kind of partners you're working with, the commission you have to pay to them, the key activities that you're doing, which may require to invest in resources or hire different people. This will create your cost, right? Now, how much you make from your customers is where your value proposition comes in. The more value you give to your customers with the most efficient cost, is the difference, is the profit that you're going to get. So here you have to think about the value proposition. What value are you delivering to customers and to who? Okay. What kind of problems are you helping to solve? That has to be very clear. So in the assignment, you have to be very clearly stating who is the industry, who is the customer you're focusing on, and what kind of problems are you solving. So it cannot be too general, right? For example, you talk about clothing for the home. Actually, what's the problem? Is it possible? What is, sorry, I think it's my neighbor. It's too loud, is it? I don't know where is the noise coming from as well. Too loud, yeah, sorry. I can't do anything. Naughty neighbors, yeah, sorry. I will upload all this to the portal, right? So don't worry, you get all this data. So where was I? Yeah, so in the assignment, make sure you're clear about your customers. Okay, so back to the question, you're talking about clothes for home users because we are all trapped into this home. What kind of problem are you trying to solve? What kind of problems are you trying to solve? What do you think is the problem? So anyone would like to help out? Having an easy to wear formal attire while at home. Okay, but can I get this from Shopee and Lazada? Better delivery, I also can get it from Shopee and Lazada, right? So those are the things that you probably have to think about. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe one problem is if I have every day got meetings, right? And I want to save money. Maybe I can have a ready-to-made throw away clothes that I can just wear, right, and then throw it away. So that could be also something that you can think about. But you have to define the problem they are facing. Okay. So those are the things that you need to look at. It's important. Disposable baser, yes, right? Because maybe if you look at it on the online, sometimes people may not be able to tell whether it's disposable or non-disposable. So this could be an option, right? Maybe people do not lazy to wash clothes. They like disposable. The environment allows them to do that, to get away with that. So that could be something that's possible, isn't it? So think about that perspective. Okay, so that means you're renting. Maybe the model could be, if you send me 100 ringgit a month, I will give you 30 different types of disposable clothes that you need to wear on a daily basis. So that could be also a model, isn't it? Instead of buying new clothes, now I just buy subscription-based clothes model. I mean, it may not make sense, but I'm just giving an example. Okay? Okay, let's go down into a bit more detail. So here are some of the questions you have to think about for your customer segments. That's why important is identification of the correct customer is of ultimate importance. Don't sell everything to everybody, but sell something to someone. Okay, you cannot sell everything to everybody. So make sure that you're selling something to that someone. So today's model is, last time it used to be like if you're catching a fish, you throw the net into the river and you get fishes, and you do not know what kind of fish you will get. If you get some fish, okay, you pray and hope that it's the right fish. Okay, but most of the time you don't know what kind of fish you get. Today's business approach is, if you want to get a particular fish, you must know where to go to get a particular fish. You must know what kind of bait you use, what kind of fishing rod you use, and what kind of technique you use. So that is important today, yes, and data has become very important, right? So in order for you to build a business, you must get the right data first, okay? Because as you said, garbage in, garbage out. So key questions that you want to ask yourself in your customers is who are they and what do they look like? Are you able to visualize that customer? Okay, because it's important, right? What problems do you think they are facing? Are you able to segment them? For example, the florist business. Florist business has many segments. People buy because they want to give their loved ones and they buy on a daily basis. Some people buy because they like to be surrounded by flowers, right? It's not to give to someone. Some people buy because they just want to spend money. So there are different segments of the same market. Which segment are you talking about? In order for you to understand which segment, you have to try to understand how big is the segment. Because you may not want to spend money or resources to go after a small segment. That was the question. You said food business not advisable to use. No, I'm saying that food business, you can use it in your assignment, but what I'm saying is food business is difficult because there's a lot of operational cost to it. Because food, unless the ingredient you use, because of the method of cooking. If you're not able to replicate this, then it's difficult to grow the business. Okay? So yeah, maybe like Damakan, online food. Damakan, if you notice, they sell food, but they are a platform. And providers are providing them with the food. So their business is actually a platform. Okay? Or like Crave.co. I'm not sure whether you've heard of this. Crave.co is also a platform that matches people who sell, who cooks online, cooks at home, to sell to the community. So these are so different. So the model is the platform. And how do they make money? Is commission. Okay? So think about how to segment them. Think about why would they want to buy your product? What is the problem they're facing? What needs are they trying to fulfill? And is that a need or one from perspective? So that's different. Huh? A need is something that they must have to do something compared to a want. So sometimes, if you are selling a product that is based on the want, you may not be making money from the product itself. Okay. How do you differentiate customer segment and value proposition? Okay, so if you look at customer segment, let's say example, let's say you're trying to sell grocery to the market. Now, in this grocery market, there could be different segments, right? Some people, they like high quality food. They don't mind paying a bit more. Some people, they don't mind, they cannot afford it, so they go for the lower end quality food. So you must think of the value that they're looking for. So the high quality people, what they look for is not really about pricing. They look for service. They look for maybe imported food. They look for freshness of the food. They look for quality of the food, right? So the value that you're providing them is, you maybe compared to your competitors, you provide the freshest food. You provided all imported products. You provided unique flavors. So that is your value proposition to this kind of market. The other market, people who are buying groceries at the lower end, they just want something to eat. They don't care what is it, and as long as they are able to provide, get something, right? So for this kind of segment, your value proposition is maybe lowest cost. Let's say instead of paying on a regular basis 10 ringgit for 1 kilo of rice, for you, you're able to deliver it to sell to them at 5 ringgit, right? And maybe not only 5 ringgit, you can sell 5 ringgit for 2 kilos. So that's the value that you're providing to the customer segments. Okay, so it depends on the kind of segments that you are targeting and what do they see as value. Some people see the value as pricing. Some people see value as services. Some people see value as quality. So it's important to understand the customer so that you're able to craft out the right value proposition to your customers. And the value you're giving them must be differentiated from your competitors. That's how you make money. Okay. Now, sometimes I get carried away, so if I talk too much, just shut me up, okay? Because I'm very passionate about this kind of topic. Okay, channels. Now, channels are mediums or bridges that you can reach your customers. So you have to think about it. Huh? Different customers have different ways of reaching customers. You cannot use the same mechanism to reach different customers. So let me ask you this one. Huh? Is there a difference between people who buy from Facebook, who buy from the platforms like Lazada and Shopee, and who buy from website in terms of the customer's behavior? Okay, what's the difference? Just Lee. Age group may or may not be. Okay. Payment method, okay, maybe. Payment method, yes, okay. Level of trust, okay, good. That could be one. Okay, let me ask you a question. Why do you buy from Lazada or Shopee? Cheap, right? Value.
Cheap and convenience.
Yeah, cheap and convenience, okay? Cheap, that means you're looking for value. So that means every time you buy something, a product that is common, the first thing you probably do is, okay, can I find it Lazada or Shopee, isn't it? Because it's not special, right? And you're trying to get the best price. Now, imagine if you're trying to sell a high price item to these customers through Lazada and Shopee. Do you think you can sell them? No, exactly. Maybe you will get some sucker, hopefully they'll just pay your money. But you're not going to be able to sell them, right? Okay. Now let's talk about WhatsApp buyers. Who are the WhatsApp buyers? Are they different from the platform buyers? Because if you know WhatsApp buyers, you have to do a lot of live, sell them, and then they buy. And sometimes if you notice, even though you put the pricing very big in the WhatsApp advertising, they will say PME price, PME price, PME price, isn't it? Because of the mechanism and because of the way they buy from WhatsApp, So they could be very impulsive buyers in WhatsApp. They see a thing, they like it, immediately they buy. So the way that people think in WhatsApp and Lazada are very different. Now, if you talk about website, it's also different. Okay? So it's important to make sure that when you sell a product, you cannot use the same channel to sell the same product. Now, the reason why is because, let me ask you, let me tell you this. When I was coaching a company to do this, they had the same product, they sell on the website, they sell in Lazada. You know what the customer asked them? You know what the customer asked them?
Which one to buy?
Huh?
Can buy offline?
No, why would they want to say, why would they ask them that way? They will ask them, hey, how come you are the originator of the product, right? And so my perception or assumption is that if I buy from you directly, from your website, it should be cheaper than Lazada, isn't it? But why is your product cheaper in Lazada than your own website? So they were confused. Of course, you know why? Because Lazada, they will force the merchants to give them very good value so that they can cut the price to the consumers. But if you do that, different channels with the same product, you will confuse your customers. So a lot of people will do this supermarket strategy. They use the cost, so-called the products that they don't mind losing to bring them to the website to sell them higher order products, right? Which is what supermarket do. Okay, so when talk about channels, price and channel conflict. So when talk about channels, make sure that it fits the consumer behavior. All right, because different channels will require different costs, which will eventually affect your cost structure as well. Okay.
Is there any product that is versatile enough to go to all these channels?
No, you see that there's no one product. What you see is people having the same product but different branding. So maybe example, if you look at let's see, Armani, you have the Armani, and then you have the Armani Exchange, which may be lower value. Or if you see L'Oreal, the hair gel, right, or hair products, they will have different products for the supermarket, the hair gel, different products for the professional, the hair salon, and different products for maybe hospital or something else. So it's the same brand, but the branding is different, which will also impact your costing because of your packaging. Am I right? So you have to think of it from that perspective. Okay. If the producer is able to sell it on discounted price on Lazada, why can't the company put the same on the website as to increase the product presence? Okay, if you look at Lazada, okay, this is also something that I want to bring up. Have you noticed that Lazada, when you look at Lazada now, last time they used to start based on the sales on 99, isn't it? You have 99, right? Then suddenly they went into 10, then 11, then 12. Then now you have 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 6. Correct? Every month. So if you, and this concept has changed the behavior of consumers. Right now, if you are actually a regular buyer and you are not impulsive, you probably say, hey, definitely Lazada will come up with a monthly sale. I will wait for the monthly sale. So in a sense, Lazada has created this problem for themselves. Right? So that is something that they have to think about, in terms of not having too many promotions as well. Okay? So it's important to look at the channels. What else? Is there any other? Yeah. So if the producer is able to sell a discounted price on Lazada, why can't the company put the same? Actually, the producer is selling the discounted price at Lazada because the consumer demands it. If they don't see any discount, they won't buy from it. So they are forced to do that. But it will kill their own brand in their own website. Okay? So they are selling at a loss in Lazada just to create the branding. All right? So that's why I said that different channels must have different strategies because the consumers are different. Some of the questions are, you have to decide on which channels are most effective. Determine which are the channels are integrated. So you have a consistency in the way you reach your customers. So this one talks about omni-channel. So you have to think about how, because now consumers are looking at experience. Imagine, I'm sure you've experienced it before, you go to a website, you see a very good service from the website. So you thought maybe I want to do a trial run, a test, and call the customer service. Nobody picks up the phone. Or the people who picks up the phone don't even know what you're talking about. So then you'll be confused. Say, why is there no consistency in the way they service you, right? So when you talk about customer service or selling to customers, you must think of something called the omni-channel, because customers go in online and offline now, right? So you must be consistent in the way you service your customers from the perspective of channels. Okay. Relationship is, of course, this one I think you all know. How do you build relationship with your customers? So it depends on your product that you're selling. Sometimes you may have a loyalty card, which is what everybody does. Sometimes you may have a community. If you're selling, let's say, online training, you may have a community where you provide them with free knowledge on and off, right? Or you may have a discount card, or you may have business networking that gets together, or you may have a member get member. So these are the different ways you look at relationship. It must be something that suits your customer and your business. Value proposition, I think I talked about it a bit more. So basically, you have already understood what is value proposition. It's the value your products bring to the customer, and it must be aligned to the customer's focus that you are focusing on. Okay? So far, do you have any questions? Are you all clear? Okay, good. Now, the key resources here is something that you can think about. You will probably have important key resources that you need in your business, right? Now, the question is, do you control these resources? If it's important, is there a need for you to control these resources? Maybe yes, right? If it's not important, maybe you can think about it as a stakeholder. That means a key partner. So between resources and your partners, you can actually move it. Okay. Some of the other things you might think about is it easy to get the resources? And how would it affect the cost? So these are questions that you may think about when you list down your resources that is aligned to your business that you have. Now, key activities are the kind of activities you're doing in your business that is part of your value chain for you to deliver that value proposition to your customers. So don't have to put in every activity. Just put in the major activities that you think are important in your business. Okay? That will take most of the costs in your business. Right? Key partners, of course, these are key partners. So these are the partners that you depend on as part of your business model. And you must remember, if your partners do not deliver to you, you may not be able to deliver the same value to your customers. So it's important to be able to manage your partners, right? So partners could be, example, if you rely on credit facilities, maybe your banking could be a partner. If you buy products from raw supplier, maybe your raw material supplier is your partner, right? And if they don't deliver to you, you're going to have a problem, okay? Yeah, sometimes key partners are the ones used for generating products as well. So those are important. Logistics could be a partner. Instead of having your own drivers, you can actually outsource it to Lalamove or even Grab, right? So these are, then you have to think about, is it cheaper for me to outsource it? Or is it cheaper for me to have my own logistics? Okay. Now, stakeholder is important. So what do you know about stakeholders? What are they? Who are they? Who are stakeholders? Okay, stakeholders are anyone with an interest in your business. All right. So yes, all of them are stakeholders, but you have to define at what level they are. So if you look at the levels, they are the primary stakeholders, those with the most direct effect. So who are they? This could be your customers, the people who work for you, right? Maybe the managers, your suppliers could be a stakeholder. Now you have to think then of your secondary stakeholders. Secondary stakeholders are those who have some influence on the primary stakeholders. Now, why is it important to understand who are your primary stakeholders and secondary stakeholders? Who are your primary stakeholders and secondary stakeholders? Reliability. What else? Okay, let me ask you this: if you are selling training for children, kids, who is your actual customer? Yeah, kids are important because you must make sure that your services are relevant to the kid. They are happy with the kid, but the parents are the one paying for it. So you must understand the stakeholders will influence your primary stakeholders, right? Example, supplier can also be both primary stakeholders and secondary stakeholders. Primary stakeholders are suppliers who supply directly to you, but these suppliers may have also their suppliers. So their suppliers are secondary stakeholders. It's important to know that because if that secondary stakeholders cannot supply to your primary supplier, you will be affected, right? So it's important to understand the levels, and of course, the other one is tertiary stakeholders. Tertiary stakeholders are, like example, the government, it is outside your circle of business, they will influence you in some way. Example, government's policies is considered government is considered a tertiary stakeholder. Whatever they do, sometimes it will affect your business, right? Example, COVID-19, they come up with all these different policies, it will affect the way you conduct the business. So it's important to understand the stakeholder. So what you want to do is to map out your stakeholders, whether they are primary, secondary, and tertiary, and have management or strategies to manage these different stakeholders. Okay? So you can do something like this. This is a table that you can use to so-called understand who are the stakeholders, what roles they play, how important they are, the level of support they're providing you, what you need from the stakeholders, what's important. How should you block your efforts? How could the stakeholders block your effort? And your strategy for enhancing stakeholder support. This will actually, understanding this will actually give you a better understanding of how you are able to do your business. All right? Don't worry, I'll put it all in the portal as well. And the last one, this is the last slide. Make sure that you put in the assumptions you're making in your business. Right? When you set up a business, what are the assumptions you're making, and why are you making these assumptions? Because these assumptions, if it comes true, it will affect your business, whether for good or bad. So put in these assumptions, questions, facts, and assumptions you're making. Okay? Okay, I think that is my last slide. Now, any questions on your business model? And do you have a better picture of how you are able to craft your business model canvas? Okay, good, good. Okay, that's good. Now, are there? Oh, thank you. I love you too. I mean, are there any particular questions?
Dr. Tom,
Yes.
thank you for sharing.
Sorry, you're breaking up. I can't really hear you. Maybe I'll stop sharing so that
Yeah,
then we can ask
can,
questions and have a more interactive session.
All these models and also the boxes that you have shared with us, do we need to use those or only those relevant only, then we can
Yeah. Don't use all these models I'm telling you. These are only if you think it's relevant for you. Because your models, your business may have different way of explaining things. So the idea of these models is really to help you think. Okay? But it doesn't mean that you have to put in every model that you see. Because then the application of the model is not effective for you. So use models that you think are effective for you to help you argue your case. Does it make sense to you? Yeah? Does it make sense? Okay, is there any good way to get the customer segmentation for industry, or is it up to the company based on their own methods? Is there a right or wrong way? Okay, basically, if you are a new company, sometimes it may be based on your experience or be based on some analysis of your competitor. Okay, if you are an existing company, what you want to do is to look back at your customer database, understand who are the people buying the most from you, and this is your segment that you're targeting. Because if you are actually working for an existing company, if you go back to your database, you probably see the cluster of customers that buy regularly from you, right? Now, who are these customers that buys regularly from you? You want to know them because these are the persona that you are trying to talk to. So imagine if you know them, and you spend more money going after this type of customers going forward, you probably be more efficient, right? Have less money to acquire customers because they must have want something from you. That's why they come to you, right? So there's no right or wrong way. Most important is the concept of get out of the building and talk to your customers. Okay? Previously, people use the data from survey, market trend, sales data, this or no. Okay. Important fact, when you want to get the customers, you yourself as an entrepreneur or the business owner must go and talk to your customers. Do not rely on third party because why? The communication will be lost. You tell the third party will go and ask questions which may not be relevant because they don't understand what you're trying to say. It's like the Chinese whispering game, right? You tell someone at the beginning, by the end of the room, it's a different message altogether. So if you are entrepreneur, in the beginning, you must be the one talking to customers because only you is able to articulate very well your own business and the concept of your business, right? For example, my business is selling printer, but the ink will be supplied by my supplier using dropshipping. How do I calculate break even? So, okay, so do you make money from your ink?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
so you have to think, okay, if I sell 10 ringgit ink, what is the cost I have to pay, including dropshipping, to my supplier? Maybe the 10 ringgit, I have to pay 7 ringgit. So I'm actually making only 3 ringgit. So every product you sell, let's say the ink, is you are making only 3 ringgit. Now, if your company is 5,000 ringgit in terms of the salary rental, how many packets of ink do you have to sell to make up 5,000 ringgit? So it's about 1,666, right?
I will need to calculate the printer cost as well.
Yes. You have to calculate the printer cost also, and the margin you're getting from each printer. Okay? So it's the margin that you're looking at, the margin.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes, Doc, I have a question.
Yep.
Now, based on paper, this applies to most businesses. But I'm interested to find out what are the other factors that actually makes or breaks such businesses. What makes some businesses work? So what makes the others not so good?
Okay. Based on my experience, sometimes you have a good idea, but the team is wrong. The team is wrong. They are not able to implement the team. So the cost of implementing will break the business. So sometimes it's also the vision of the company, the purpose of the company. Different people have different interests in the company. So you have self-interest people, so they are not moving in the right direction, which also affects the delivery of the services to the customer. Sometimes it's reading the environment wrongly, right? They assume certain things, the assumptions are wrong. They do something and then it is wrong. I'm not sure whether you have heard of the case study of Kodak. Have you gone through the case study of Kodak? So that's a very famous case study basically. Now, for those of you who have not heard of Kodak, case study of Kodak, why do you think it failed? They were the number one in the world, covering about 80-90% of the in terms of film in the 1890s, but they failed. Not wanting to innovate, world change, technology change. Okay, so who invented actually the digital camera? Does anybody know?
Was it Nikon?
No, it was actually Kodak who invented it in 1975. So they were invented. Kodak himself invented digital camera. When the engineer who invented it tried to pitch it to the leaders told them hide the innovation away, right? Why did they hide the innovation away? Because if you look at it, Kodak's business model at the time was based on the razor and blade model. Razor means They sell the cameras very cheap, but you have to buy the film 12, 24, 36. So that was the model. The leaders were afraid that if something like this come in, their whole razor and blade model will die, right? Which eventually proved to be true. Okay, so one of the failures of Kodak was basically the leaders themselves. They have the fixed mindset. Although they know it's coming, they refuse to change. If you compare this to Fujifilm at the same time, right? At the same time, Fujifilm survived. Why? Because they were innovating and they were trying a lot of things. They used the technology that they had for film and moved to the healthcare industry and created a lot of technology using a lot of things using technology like the X-ray film stuff. That's why Fujifilm survived. So this was actually a very popular case study. Now, let me give you an example of my own personal experience. I used to run an online game company in the 2003 to 2007. So I'm not sure whether you play online games. It's not gambling, it's online games. Right? So basically, I was selling virtual items. So this is like World of Warcraft, selling virtual items. So the company is called eGames. MOL is my partner. Right? We were the biggest game company, in Southeast Asia, right? And we have about 17 games, about 30,000 players on and off, but 3,000 very active players. Now, at our peak, no more, we stop already. At our peak, you know how much we were earning a month? Anybody can guess how much we were earning a month? This is not selling any physical products and services. It's just a code, virtual item. How much you were selling? How much do you think I was making? Correct. I was making 1.4 million a month. 1.4 million a month, selling just virtual items. So what happened was I did an auction to sell code. So I have one game called Ren Online. A very popular game, probably one of the most popular game. This is Japanese school fighting. And what we did was we did an auction. We created a suit, right, that makes you the most powerful player in the game. It's the only one in the game, and we did an auction. How much would you pay? How many of you are gamers? Okay, so some of you are gamers. How much would you pay for that suit to give you extra powers? How much would you pay? 50 ringgit, 1K. No, this one is cash. 2 ringgit, 100, 10 ringgit, 10K. Okay. So I sold it for 15K, 15,000. And the person who bought it is actually a 21-year-old kid. No kid, okay, 21-year-old youngster. And he has no checkbook, but he gave me cash. So the day itself, when I sold a few items, I made 80,000. So that is the kind of behavior that you have in the game. It's very addictive. In fact, some of my players, because it's so addictive, they actually pass away, because they were stuck in the cyber cafe for 3 days, 3 nights, just playing games and eating Maggi noodles. Then they just had a heart attack. So it's actually not a very ethical business, basically. So what happened was we were at the top of our business. Now, what happened in 2008 that sort of made us give up the business? Anybody knows? Not really. The whole landscape changed from PC-based desktop to mobile. Yeah, mobile are good, very good. And mobile, games are all free. So even though we know, we can see that coming, we cannot change because at the time I got 300 staff already. It's too big. The organization has cultures of their own, not agile enough, so we cannot change anymore. Right? So those are some of the reasons why companies fail, because they are not agile enough to adapt to changes in the environment. Okay, even though they can see company exactly like Nokia and probably Kodak as well. They can see company, they got very big, right? They think they can survive the onslaught, but all of us will get it. All right. So when you want to build a business, you have to be very adaptive. That's why when you recruit people, they must have this agile mindset, the so-called growth mindset. I hope that answered your question. Sorry, my answer is very long. Any other questions that you may have? It's not related to assignment. Any other questions? What's the reason with Yahoo versus Google? It means why did people fail, is it? Why did Yahoo fail? Yeah, actually, in the beginning when we are talking about 2000 year, you know how they differentiate themselves in terms of Yahoo and Google. What is the strength of Yahoo in terms of a search engine compared to Google? Does anybody know? One of the differentiators in the way they search last time is Google used algorithms, they use systems to help them understand the data. Yahoo actually uses people. When they first started, they look at the content and the people will look at it and say, okay, this one is, when you search for this one comes up. Google at the time, when you search for Google, the results was not very accurate. Yahoo was very accurate at the time. So Yahoo was used a lot more. But what happened, I think, is Yahoo became too, maybe it is the leadership's arrogance. You remember the time when Yahoo tried to sell to, I think, not sure, Microsoft or someone tried to buy Yahoo, right? And they refused to sell, correct? It's because of the arrogance, because they think it's going to become bigger. And it's proven to be not true, because they are not able to keep up with technology. Google uses technology to enhance their offering to go faster. If Yahoo bases on human, it's not possible to do that, right? So eventually, Google became better and better in search engine just through algorithms, and Yahoo started to lag behind. So that's what happened. And if you look at Yahoo, I look at Google, what is the purpose or mission or vision of Google? Does anybody know? Fast search information. Actually, their purpose, the purpose as a business, which is important, is they want to provide information in everyone's hands. And what did they do? Provide information in everyone's hands. You look at the strategy behind it. They started out with a search engine to so-called organize information. Then they know that people look at information from their mobile phone, right? So they bought Motorola. They created their own OS system, correct? Android. So all these businesses are to serve the purpose of putting information in everyone's hands. Okay. So when you talk about business, you are not only looking at vision, you are looking at the purpose for the business. You look at Tesla. What is the purpose of Tesla now compared to last time? Anybody has any guess? Tesla? Yeah, Google, our company mission is to organize the world's information. Actually, Tesla has moved their purpose. Now they are looking at sustainable energy. When they first started, they were just looking at automobiles, creating automobiles, right? Now, if you look at it, they are looking at sustainable energy. Okay, so by having a right purpose, you are able to align your activities, business strategies to your purpose. Okay, so it's important to talk about now purpose of organizations. All right. Now, any other question? Yeah, world's transition to sustainable energy. What is the business model of growth? It's growthx.asia, is it? Are you talking about the growthx.asia? Yeah, okay. This one is a very interesting case study. 1998, I started my own college. 1998. We were the first company in Malaysia to bring in internet courses. So we were teaching web servers, web programming, right, and business strategy for e-learning. So at that time, I started with Bangsa, in front of this Raju Banana Leaf restaurant. You know, the one that got caught washing the dishes in the drain. So we were in front upstairs. It used to be Hong Kong Bank. So when I started this business, co-founded this business, I did not think that people would be interested to learn about the internet because it's so new, right? But I was surprised that I put an ad out in the Malay Mail at the time. It was Malay Mail. It's about 50 ringgit, 4 lines. I got 200 calls that day itself. Within the 1 hour, I so-called sold all my 17 seats. I only had 17 seats that I invested in. And until there are people so desperate, they came to the place and say, they gave me money and say that please create a seat for me. Of course, when people give you money and you are still new, of course you don't turn it away, right? So I took the money, and then by the time we started the class, we had double the size. We had 33 people inside the class. Within a year, fueled by this growth, I went from 1 branch to 5 branches, from the 34 staff initially to 35 staff. From the initial 17 PCs to 300 PCs. And then what happened? So I was making money, first year. I made about 2 million first year, which is quite good for a new business, right? What happened in 2000? Does anybody know what happened in 2000?
Y2K.
Not only Y2K.
No.
We talk about the internet bubble burst.
Yeah.
Because even before the burst, I had people giving me money, without even looking at my books. To say, okay, I just want to buy a share. In fact, somebody came in and bought my share. They will give me 1 million and to buy 30% of the company. Now, the only mistake I made was I put the 1 million back into the company. I should have taken the money for myself, some of it, because I'm selling my shares. Okay. So that was the first experience of entrepreneurship. So when it broke, now being Asians, you try not to fire staff, isn't it? I had 34 staff. What would you do at that point in time if you are an entrepreneur? You want to keep the business going, you don't hard to fire people, you still got to pay rental, you pay salary, what would you do? Pay card, okay. Loan, cannot get loan. Nobody is selling loan. You use salary, yes, we tried that. What else? Cannot diverse. It's all died. Joint venture, nobody wants to work with you. So imagine, it's like now, COVID-19. Sell your fixed asset. I mean, people were actually not buying things because they are not looking at ways to invest. Compensate the stuff, that means you need more money. So where do you get the money from? What's the fastest instrument that you can get from a bank to get money? Actually, I had to sell my car, basically. Sell my car, sell everything I had, just to pump in the money. Overdraft, no. The fastest way is to get credit cards. So what I did was I took 9 credit cards with a total credit limit of $500,000, and I took cash advance. And then I tried to use the $500,000 to prolong the company. I think it prolonged it for about 6 months before I found somebody to just take it over. The dog stone and barrel, right? So that's what I did. But people ask me, would I do it again? I will still do it again because that kind of experience nobody will be able to get. So I used the techniques I had when I was in GrowthX Asia. It's also another company that I was helping someone to build. Whatever I did that worked last time, I tried it in GrowthX. It did not work. Which means to tell me that the environment has changed. Now, GrowthX model is very different. It's based on the license program that we brought in from US. Their model is not training, but they also invest in companies, right? And let's say, example, I buy a share. It's an accelerator. They come in, they look at companies that they want to invest in. I provide you with, let's say I want to buy 10% of company. Instead of providing with cash 100,000, I'll give you some cash and I will provide you with the training and the coaching to grow your business for that share. Okay, so that was the model. Now, it took me, GrowthX took me almost a year to grow the business, to find product market fit. Whatever technique I used to do during the time in 1998, where it only took me about a few weeks to grow the business, took me almost, first of all, those techniques I used cannot be used anymore. And it took me a year to build a business. Right? So the market has changed. That's why I am so it's important to understand who your customers are, because the customers are different now. Okay. I hope that answered your question for GrowthX. Are there any other questions you may have? So if you have time, you go and find out the concept of did I recover the money? No. I basically went back to the workforce, tried to earn back and then pay off. Yeah, eventually I lost that. I mean, you make money, then after that you try to earn back. Can we have you as a? That one I think it depends on the college. Does the company still exist? No, no more. We close it down. I have now gone into new ventures at this thing. To provide training, is there any regulatory board to control? So to become a trainer or to become trainee, you have to go to HRDF and get yourself certified as HRDF.
Doctor, just wanted to ask you, how did you recover? I mean, when you lose money, you said you had credit card. I'm sure that would attach to bad credit rating as well. I'm not sure if it was existed back then, but now you lose money or you're not able to, clear the debt, the credit rating, and how did you recover? How did you come out of that?
Well, first of all, after the business, I went back into employment.
Oh,
then you earn salary, then you start paying off bit by bit. Then that's how you clear off this thing. So, I mean, entrepreneurship is not easy, right? You have to so-called suffer before you get very successful. But it's an enjoyable journey. It's really an enjoyable journey. In fact, now I'm also an entrepreneur. I do my own business, coaching and consulting based on innovation for multinational companies as well as startup companies. So I'm also back to entrepreneurship here.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, welcome. Are there any other questions you might have? Is it advisable to always try not to extend? Yes. Very good question. So what I learned from the first venture was sometimes growth is not good. Imagine we were growing because of the demand, right? So being a first-time entrepreneur, we were so-called taken away by the growth factor. So it's very important when you are talking about business, be very careful about growing too fast. Because what happens is, especially today, if you look at today's business, last time the model was like this, right? You grow in a linear basis. Today, if you look at many new businesses, it is based on a hockey stick curve. You may not be growing for a while because you're looking at something called product market fit. So let me just type it there. I'm not sure whether you've heard of this. The concept of product market fit. It will take you some time to look at product market fit. Then suddenly, when it grows, when you hit the pivot point, it will just grow like this. So it'll be like a hockey stick curve. The point that you think about is when you are starting to grow like this, do you have the capability in terms of your structure, your people, your skill sets to also grow like this? Because you have a gap. If you're not able to keep up your growth, you have a gap. Because maybe operationally too difficult, maybe you cannot get the skill sets, right? So those are things that you think about. So today's businesses, they are called exponential organizations. If you look at the business models of exponential organizations like Google, Netflix, they are very different. Some of the attributes they have is staff on demand. That means they don't hire staff. They leverage on other people's assets. They use other people's assets. Like say Grab. Now Grab, suddenly if they have a demand 10 times, do you think they can deliver their service from Grab? Do you think they can deliver the same service? Huh?
No.
Why not? Because all they just do is to get more people who owns a car to become Grab drivers. Very fast, right? But imagine if they will use the same old model where they hire people, buy asset, then it's not possible. It takes too much cash or it's too slow. So today's business model is, Norman.
But doctor, wouldn't let's say for example in this model you have Grab, wouldn't I think it's all based on data because I was told the management already knew months before that there was an upward trend, so they started hiring drivers way ahead already before people like us know.
Oh yeah, of course it's based on data, yes. But what I'm saying, the model, because it's leveraging other people's asset and stuff on demand, the model allows them to grow very fast, in relation to the growth of the market. But if you have the old thinking is I hire staff, I buy asset, you will die, isn't it?
Yep, like the sunlight taxi. We used to call taxi sunlight.
Yes. So today's model has properties like this. You look at Netflix, you look at all the other models, they don't own their own asset. Airbnb, do they own asset? No. They use other people's asset. Right? WhatsApp, do they own any telecommunication company? They don't. They use the other people's telecommunication company. So these are the new models that you're looking at. Yeah, Agoda. Yeah.
But, would these new models, like if demand goes down, wouldn't it affect their bottom line directly? Like for example, Agoda, the company which owns Agoda, I mean the bottom line completely wiped out in the last 1.5 years because they don't own anything. I understand they don't have much liability, but in terms of revenue, it is basically net zero, right?
Yes, of course. That's why it's important when we talk about business like this. You must have multiple streams of income.
Yeah.
Like Agoda, they base it on. Of course, they never predicted pandemic, isn't it? They created the whole crash, you see, because their entire business model was based on this one. So the whole industry died. They also died. Right.
Yeah.
So you have to think about having like Grab. They have different businesses. They started with taxi, Grab, then we had Grab Pay, Grab groceries, so many things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is an old principle of they say throw your bread on 7 different things and you don't know which one would catch the fish, right? Something similar to that.
yeah. You have to experiment. So the concept here is experimentation. But that is also a different mindset. So one of the most important things that you have to think about is your mindset. You yourself have to think about your own mindset. The business you have seen, how do you overcome the challenge of staffing, referring to innovation gap, come from knowledge of mindset? You mean what you're saying is the challenge of the mindset difference, is it? Between your workers and yourself.
Yeah, and also trying to be getting more revenue stream than just focused on one business idea.
Okay.
Like I was just researching some of these big oil companies. You see, like Exxon, Shell, and Chevron. You see the Exxon and Shell. They are trying to diversify into renewables, investing billions into it. But if you look at their what do you call the market valuation or the shareholders value over the period of time, like Shell, for entire historic value, they lost about 30%, which is like crazy for companies like Shell. Even after investing billions into area, the renewable, like wind or solar or whatever, like Exxon, over the period of 5 years, they lost about like 35% as well. And losing shareholders' value at that level is crazy, even after they're trying to focus on a different stream of revenue. So how do we balance that out? I mean, how do we ensure that even though you want to diversify, but ensure that we still have the revenue stream which doesn't erode the shareholders' value?
Okay, so I think those also.
Or is that a risk that
companies?
Sorry about that. Sorry for interrupting.
No.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what's happening now? If you look at the companies today, I think it's be very hard pressed to look at companies who can exist more than 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Today's business is such that you have only a time frame of maybe 10, 12 years to 20 years before it so-called dies the industry, unless you're able to change. So what's happening in the traditional business? The traditional business, if you look at it, there's something called the iceberg model. Have you heard of this iceberg model? Iceberg model says that our culture, organizing culture, is dependent on people's mindset, right? Which is based on a structure, and then which forms a pattern. So that's where your organization culture comes from. So in order for you to change, you have to go down to the bottom, right? The mindset of people. So what are traditional companies doing? They know that they are not able to transform fast enough. So they are creating innovation departments within the departments, right? To experiment. So they have, let's say, example, Marriott. They have a core business of hotels. What they did was many years ago, when things like Airbnb came about, they created a small unit and experiment using Airbnb to sell their hotel spaces. So what happens is they create all this experiment within the companies, and if the experiment picks up, that bubble becomes bigger and bigger until they become a core of their business. So, like Exxon, the core business is, let's say, in oil and gas. They are actually looking at other new things, experiment, right? And then they'll see whether it works. Then they focus and change their core from, let's say, oil and gas to this new experiment that works. What is the problem here is the traditional companies is the mindset of the people. Yeah. Because they're so comfortable in their own business, they refuse to change. So if you are looking at business now, I think the challenge, even Hong Ling was saying, right? What are the challenges that you see from staffing? Now, I also have this problem when I go and train SMEs, right? Some of these SMEs are traditional businessmen. They don't look at education as an investment. They say, oh, I don't need this one. But they don't mind spending money on the latest Mercedes-Benz or BMW. Yeah. So sometimes when they come, let's say COVID comes in, they rather close out the business than transform, because it's too much headache for them. So the mindset is the most difficult to change in any organization. Right? So what I do now is, example, I always tell the organization, if you have a large organization, take 2 or 3 people with an agile mindset, create a different department, right? A small unit. This unit reports directly to the CEO. They are given a budget, and they are given the flexibility to do whatever they want to experiment. And whatever experiments they do, if it's successful, then they grow from there. So you take them out of the structure and routine of the organization. So that's what you probably need to look at. Now, some of the companies, they know that they cannot do it themselves. So what they do is now they partner with startups. Yeah. They partner with startups because they know that startups has this agile mindset, creative, no fear type of mindset, is it? Compared to the organizational mindset, which have been so-called brainwashed by the structures of the organization until you dare not even innovate. Because if you innovate, your boss will come and kill you, right? So if you are looking into building a business, think about one of the most important characteristics to think about having an agility in the people
Nimble
that
as while you grow in your core.
correct, nimbleness, right?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
How do
Thank
you
you.
observe? Okay, thanks, Colin. Daniel saying, how do you observe between OOU hotels and Airbnb? Okay, there are two differences. If you look at their customer segment that they're targeting, very different between OU and hotels. The business model is the same, almost the same, but they go in, they buy low cost hotels, they make it up. So their segments that people are going to are very different, right? So you can actually, there are a lot of opportunities in businesses today. What you can do is, if you look at Grab does not, Grab Food does not focus on every part of the food chain. You could do into a niche market. For example, you can do the same thing but for hawker food. Maybe on the roadside, to people who have their own community, you can also do that. So you can actually go niche into that area, right? Can you recommend any good HR strategy books, textbooks, or any author that we should learn from? If you look at the academic books like I can't remember. What is books? This like marketing is like Kotler. If HR, good HR strategy books. Now, one of the popular models that's being used in organization today is the URIC model. Have you heard of it? ULRIC. I think it's Robert Urich. So find out anything you can about from him, because the model he has come up with is transformed differently. Okay. So think about all these HR strategies from people like this, and all the old, even Michael Porter models are very old, and sometimes it's not relevant for today's business. But it's important to be taught in the academic perspective because they serve as a foundation for everything. Right? Then from there, once you understand the foundation, you can go to any books and you'll be able to understand all this foundation. Because all the new books actually come from all these so-called gurus previously.
Doctor, just checking with you. How do you spell the Heidelberg model? You mentioned Heidelberg model, right? How do you spell
iceberg
that?
model. Iceberg.
Yeah. Iceberg. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions you have? I think we have pivoted to other topics. Any questions? So how many of you are entrepreneurs here, and how many of you are working for companies?
I part own my business.
Okay, good. Okay. So, some of you who are doing both, that means part-time, do you think it works?
I don't think so. It is pretty difficult to focus on both the things together. I have tried it out, but it is not going into the right direction right now.
Yeah. You know why? Does anybody know why?
Because mainly, I think because of the time. Where
No, not that.
Not really.
Not that.
Dedication, focusing on a specific thing, or dedicating yourself, I think what is important, what I have learned so far is time, discipline, and dedication, which is, important to come up with your own venture. especially during the initial days. So
It's
that is
it's
a challenge.
important, but it's driven by something. It's driven by something. And if you are doing part time, you'll never get at something. I feel because I've done it before. My passion, okay. You see, if you are doing part time, you always have this safety net behind you. That you know that if a business fails, you still got a job to go to. So unconsciously, you don't put the effort to it, right? And then when you don't do it well, because you don't put the effort to it, you fail. And then you validate this by saying, oh yeah, see, that's why I'm not suited to become an entrepreneur.
That is right.
Right?
That is right, because that is why
Ah.
discipline is important here.
But if you take away the safety net and put your everything you have on the business, I can guarantee you, because human beings are there, I can guarantee you will find a way to succeed. Because the survival mode comes in.
Right. We'll definitely
Right.
take your advice. We'll plan it
Ah.
out. Thank you.
But of course, it's not easy, lah. It's a risk,
It's a risk.
It's a
It's
risk.
a big risk.
Ah, yeah. So, but I can tell you, human beings are built such a way that if push comes to shove, you will still find a way to survive.
Yeah.
Ah,
Right. I mean, it is a risk. I mean, especially if you have a family who's
Yeah.
relying on you. So I'm just
Yeah.
waiting for the right time, because I hope that if my wife is onboarded in a job, then I will be having, this risk, which will be assessed. So I think I'll be in a better position to take this risk.
but you know what they say about time, right? There is no right time. You just have to do it.
Right.
I mean, of course, I'm not asking you to just quit your job tomorrow and just do it. Like, you have to plan for it, I'm saying. Right? But there's
Yeah.
no right time, because after you meet certain things, you say, oh, then you have something else. It's actually, at the end of the day, it's probably trying to excuse yourself from not going through that path,
Right. So what I'm targeting right now is basically, I just have some focus what I need in an year of time, in terms of monetary value, and in terms of resources, because I cannot pay salary. So mainly I'm focusing on partnership. So basically,
Yeah,
I'm getting people,
Very good.
who can tag along with me and give the same kind of dedication, because they are partner and they will benefiting from.
Correct. You see, let me give you this formula. I'm sure you know this formula. E equals MC square,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So if you put in context with business, E is enterprise, equals to M, mass. Mass of resources, mass of money, mass of building. Today you need the C square. What is C square? Can anybody guess what the C is? No, that's under mass.
Mm.
I'm gonna collaborate and co-create the C square. Which means you must collaborate with some people and co-create some new business. And this is very difficult. Because as entrepreneurs, sometimes we are quite selfish. We don't want to share things. So we worry that we share things and collaborate with people. We worry that they take away our ideas, right? But today, in order to move fast, we have to collaborate and co-create. So I also change the way I do my business. I don't hire people now. I collaborate and co-create.
Mm. Especially, I think, Indian subcontinent, the very first thing the people will be asking, how much will they get?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly. So that's the wrong person to work with.
Exactly. So I just dropped, the idea of getting that kind of person in my team. So, especially, the people, the person who is working in your team must be collaborative. So, I mean,
Correct.
idea is something, if you have, it cannot be taken, what I believe, right?
Correct,
I mean, of
correct.
course, there are some exceptions, but it cannot be taken, because, the high level idea you are explaining to the other person, you must be having a lot of reasoning behind.
So that phasing is still with you. So that is fine, I think.
Yeah, correct. Like Shamin said that you collaborate and co-create. What are the experiences there?
So basically, I don't kind of I don't have an office. I have a cloud office. So, and I kind of take the same skill sets of people. Like, for example, I do branding. So I take branding executives who are also on a freelance, right? So we kind of like sit down and we do it together, but they do not work for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, then I decide on how much a profit the other person takes.
Yeah, good.
So I will
That's the way.
Yeah, I will be the business development actually. Yeah.
Correct. And then from there, you can go into other things like maybe not only branding, maybe website development, technical, because you have
Correct.
the same
I also do
ecosystem.
I do PR and also talent management right now. So
Yeah, correct. See, so you probably move faster than the traditional businesses because you are not hindered by staff going on leave or having, they say, I don't do so much work, that kind of thing.
Correct.
Because all of you are hungry, you see.
True.
On the same topic, sir. I mean, if you depend on people too much, wouldn't that hinder the scale that you can go to? Like, to give you a real life example, like we ventured into banana farming. So the idea was that I contracted farm in Philippines, and then we had a customer here in Malaysia. So they were growing, and I was just selling it to here. And then all of a sudden, the guys in Philippines, whoever goes and gives them cash, they would sell it to them regardless of whether the contract existed or not. I mean, even after having the contract, they wouldn't supply to us. And then the contractual law means nothing in the part of the Philippines that we were doing business. So I assume similar things would apply in other businesses too, where there's more cash to make. The person who doesn't have any commitment towards you, I mean, he's in freelance or whatever, he can just vanish or give his attention somewhere else, and you're just left with hot potato in your hand, right? So, is there any way to, or that's a risk that we just need to price in? Or there is no other way out there?
Yeah, that's why that stakeholder mapping I showed you, very important.
Yeah.
Before you start a business, you have to understand the kind of risks you're exposed to and probably get alternatives. I've faced that problem many times where I get, stand up by partners and stuff. So right now, when I look into something, I make sure that I have different alternatives. Of course, the core value, your core skills must always be there, right? So right now, you see, example, I'm building another company, which is a learning platform. And I realized that education is very different. Education is based on your core competency. Sometimes you're not able to find partners with the same level of competency with you. So I ended up doing a lot of things myself. Okay, in fact, the platform I'm doing, actually, from that process itself, I learned how to develop my own website, my own LMS, my own recording, right? Understanding the structure of the whole thing. I even developed my own photo studio here. That's part of the learning process. But I'm not going to do it forever. I just need to understand the process. Then when I talk to partners, right? When I talk to partners, basically I will know what to tell the partners and who to look for. Okay, so I'm outsourcing non-relevant details from that perspective. Right?
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Right. No conflict with WIC, no, because mine is actually training and coaching, not teaching academic. So it's different business. And I'm actually not a full-time staff. What is COI? Daniel? Conflict of interest. Okay. No. Let's be clear. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
So obviously it's important that you make sure that there's no conflict of interest in whatever you do.
Dr. Tan, just to tap more of your observations and experience. How do you see if it is Malaysia or entrepreneurs in Malaysia aspiring to actually come up with a vaccine company. Or I don't know, it's not a vaccine company, but more pharmaceutical manufacturing company that is which can work actually directly actually with international and trying to produce the medicine. How do you see? Is there a market for that?
No, definitely in terms of R&D, there's a market. But the problem here is Malaysia is getting better in terms of the ecosystem to support entrepreneurship, but it's not there yet. You know, we started our cyber MHCE first faster than any other people in this region, right? But we are now so behind. You know, Hong Kong, Singapore all came out after that. So the ecosystem is not there to facilitate the development of innovation and new thinking for entrepreneurs. But it's getting better. If you look at some of the government agencies, they are providing programs to help entrepreneurs, but it will still take some time. That's why you see a lot of companies who are cutting edge Malaysian companies. They are not in Malaysia anymore. Am I right? They're in Singapore or they go to US, you know, which is quite sad, but hopefully I think it will come to a point where maybe these people will come back to contribute to Malaysia when they come back. But it's getting there compared to many years ago, from now to now, from then to now. There's some progress. So if you have an idea that you think is going to be what, think about which country will provide you with the ecosystem to help you move faster in the idea. Okay, it may be Malaysia, right? It may be Singapore. It may be even be Indonesia. See, Indonesia, you look at it now. They have created the Tokopedia, right? Tokopedia, and they have merged. They are now created. They are coming up with unicorn companies from even Indonesia, isn't it? Right. So these are things that we need to look at. Is that helpful for you, Daniel?
Yeah, it is always lingers in our mind before, in my mind before. Cyberjaya actually started first, but we can actually kid it. Bangalore actually is getting ahead of Malaysia. I think pretty long time already. You know? So I think
yes, correct. Yeah, Tun Mahathir had a very good vision, but I think it's like I think it's probably also similar to the assignment. What I wanted to do is the implementation. Right?
Okay. I take your note. There is one more question I want to ask, related to what I think previous student has actually asked. How do you see the big oil company reposition themselves in order to move forward? Because now we look at it, it's more carbon credits, carbon negative and stuff like that, and they are more actually on fossil fuels and the emerging of the sustainable and things like that, which on one hand it is not so promising. I think like China, I think the solar, the Voltaic is heavily subsidized, and how I mean, freely please share, how do you see, what are the options that they can go to? Thank you.
Then I think what you need to do is we look at it, what are their strengths? That's why if you look at going to diverse business, think about what are their strengths to go into diverse business. So if you look at oil and gas companies, maybe their strength is subsea drilling, looking for exploration. This could be some strengths. So maybe maybe in future they may not be drilling for oil, correct? Because they're looking for sustainable energy. They can see whether these strengths of subsea drilling or exploration strengths can be applied to any other industry that requires this strength. I can't tell you for sure what's going to happen in oil and gas, but I guess in the next 15 to 20 years, when the world is moving into sustainable energy, if they still remain as it is, they probably die because there's no demand for oil, isn't it? Right? In fact, that's what happened also at the time when the oil crisis came about. We can see that some of them actually died. So they probably have to go into innovation about maybe even sustainable energy. In fact, you look at some of the things that are happening now, Amazon and Tesla, where are they going to now? Where do you think they're going to? They're going to space exploration, right? Space exploration. So some companies like these big giants, they can experiment on these type of things because they have the resources to do this. But whether they have the skill sets or not is something they have to think about, right? So I would say look at your strengths and whether it can be applied to any emerging other emerging industries that you can use your strengths.
Okay, thank you, Dr.
Are you in the oil and gas?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Yeah.
But at the
so you
moment,
probably-
yeah. At the moment, I think what they are steering into it, just a free for, they're actually looking at trying to capture the CO2 and trying to pump it back to the earth to store the CO2 until such time that when the CO2 is able to be turned it into energy, then it might be back to business. And the other one is a lot actually to do with sulfur and stuff like that for offsetting the CO2 by planting and stuff like that.
So they're trying to create sustainable energy, basically.
It has done into that as well. Together with Paul, I think what has been shared by Rolin there, by Bernard guy there. Yeah. I think he's talking. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, like solar, like wind power, and they're also looking at the waves. Yeah, the sea waves.
The scary thing is
geothermal.
The scary thing is your competitor in future may not be from the same oil and gas companies. It may be from a tech company. Who is
I think it is already.
you. Yeah.
It is already. Yeah, I think it is already being shared very loud by Benjamin Netanyahu. That 20 years ago is a 5 oil company there. Yeah, it's actually on the listing. Big companies now. I think it's all been dominated by R&D and tech companies. Is unfolding before us already.
Yeah.
Doc,
well, it's really interesting. Yeah.
Just related to the topic here again, if I'm to come up with one product like that, just a fictitious product, and I'm not sure whether it will take off or not take off, for example, and I just write a good explanations to it to support it, would that be okay? If it is a technology, because it is so difficult to get the idea of technology because this is entrepreneurships. Would that be okay?
Okay, but you can support it by explaining two trends. What are the trends you are seeing, and what are the assumptions you are making? So that's how you support it. So if people use the trends, look at the trends and look at the assumptions and make sense to them, then I think it's logical. So although there may not be direct data related to this new innovation, think about the trends that may be heading there, right? Whether it's consumer behavior or whether it's manufacturing processes, whether it's demands, right? Look at those trends and then make a hypothesis and put it as your supporting evidence.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
Okay. Would you like to get your opinion on traditional pharmaceutical manufacturing, how to move forward to be more competitive through compliance is a very heavy cost of going to use? Now, this one I can't say because what I'm seeing now is if you look at even the health, we are now looking into digital health, right? Digital health. So people are probably going to even be doing self-medication, isn't it? Because, for example, you look at your Apple Watch. Last time you can monitor your health and stuff. Now they are actually looking into monitoring your diabetes and allowing you to actually monitor yourself. Now, pharmaceutical manufacturing, I think, will still be there because you still need to manufacture, right? But now it's the cost. It's the cost of manufacturing. How can you reduce the cost of manufacturing? If you see some of the things that's happening in, let's say, warehousing, like I'm not sure whether you see the video of Alibaba's warehouse, where only about few people are managing a warehouse that is the size of, I think, 12 football fields, because they use a lot of robotics. So it's likely that even pharmaceutical robotics will play a part in lowering the cost of manufacturing. Of course, manufacturing still requires the R&D. That's an important component, right? Compliance is a very heavy cost. Yes, it cannot be reduced, right? But I don't know what's going to happen, to be honest, in terms of pharmaceutical manufacturing, right? But I think I'll see more robotics. Compliance, it may come to a point. It may come to a point where people may be buying non-compliant drugs. I don't know, like what's happening to the Panadol market, where you have a lot of so-called alternatives out the market, which is much cheaper. It may come to that point, but when, I don't know. I can't see that, because if you look at products like food, yeah, that's illegal, I know, but consumers may not care, isn't it? As long as they can get their hands on it. Yeah, it's unfair, right? So if you look at two things, if you look at health and food, any products like this, people are very careful about what they buy. Okay, because it affects their health, it affects their food, it affects their life. So they will still go for quality products. But if you make it such expensive, like what happened to that company? What happened? What company is that? You remember not that the CEO went to jail because he was selling the drug which was cost $7 US for $110 US, I think. Do you remember that? And they were the only company that was selling the drug. He's now in jail. I can't remember the company name. So it may, I can't predict, but it may come to the point where people cannot sustain. Sinopil, is it? What's the name of the guy? It may come to a point where people cannot sustain the cost of medication and look for alternative. Yeah, as a young CEO. Right? So it's not something that they desire, maybe it's forced out. So when that happens, right, which I think is unlikely, when that happens, then it may affect your traditional pharmaceutical manufacturing. Yeah, it charges about 100%, correct? There's a guideline,
Okay,
because you must, yeah.
Sorry for interrupting. You want to continue?
No, I just want to say that now the power of purchase belongs really to the buyer, and because of this network effect that we have in internet. You look at I think someone mentioned the Pokemon Go, right? Pokemon Go. You know how many days it took them how long it took them to reach 50? Yes, Martin. Yeah, how many days? How long it took them to reach 50 million users? Pokemon Go. Anybody knows? 19 days. 19 days. If you compare to previous innovation like aircraft, television, aircraft, how long it takes you to reach 50 million users? 68 years. Right? You look at internet, radio to reach 1 million users takes 40 years. Television takes 10 years. Internet to reach 1 million users, 4 years. So you're looking at shortening of business life cycles. You're looking at the pervasiveness of the internet businesses. So eventually, consumers are going to have the power over suppliers, I would think. Okay. So these are some changes to the thing. Sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, Dr. Tom. It's about the blue ocean strategy. Because I'm in a retail line, so there is some retailer they really focusing on blue ocean. So as a supplier, will be unable to break through when there is a blue ocean item from this retailer. So I just want to ask if there any suggestion from you to win among the blue ocean that already fixed in the retailer.
What do you mean by blue ocean? What is the definition of blue ocean for retailer?
Yeah, they have this blue ocean item which they focusing to sell. For example, there's like a BP meter, they focus a brand only. So if I have another brand who want to enter, they will just buy because of the branding, but they will not focus it. So this is a challenge in my job scope at the moment. So it's kind of hard that we always to give them a special model for them, special course in order to them to focus us again.
Oh, so that means you are saying that some competitor came in with
Yes.
a new product and they sold to your same market, right?
Yes, same market.
And then when you try to go back to the same market, they are not buying from you because they already established a brand there.
Correct.
Okay. So I think, first of all, if you look at your own product, sometimes if you're competing against your competitor, then you're going to, based on the price fight. You're trying to
Correct.
say, okay, maybe my product is, I cannot sell, I will sell it cheaper than them. So what this tells you is you have maybe approached the wrong market. Okay? That means you are trying to go into a market that does not want your product or the offering that you have. So think about shifting your market to another market. Right? Unless you know exactly what is the value they are providing to your market. Why is it they are buying from them and not you? I don't think it's only the pricing, and I don't think it's only the branding, right? What is the perception of the consumer? So unless you know very well the behavior of the consumer, right, there are two things you can do. Either you make sure you talk to the consumers and understand the behavior, or you shift your market to another market. Like Sun Tzu said, change your battlefield. Isn't it? Yeah.
Okay. Understand.
Because today is about experimentation. So in order to find product market fit, which I talked about earlier, you have to change things. Now, change things maybe doesn't mean change your product. It may mean change your market, change your business model, change your offering, and maybe even change your team, because maybe your team is not suited. Okay? So you change until you find product market fit, and then once you find product market fit, you put every resource you have there to grow. So what I can tell you is it may not be your product that's wrong. It may be the market that's wrong.
I see.
So go and find another market that will want your product.
Thanks, Doctor. Yeah.
All right. Okay, guys. Any other questions? Any other questions? No? Okay. So I think if you have any questions relating to assignment, you can always email me. I will put up the deck, these two decks onto the portal so you can refer to it. If you have any other questions, you can always email me. Right? Even though if you think that I can help you in your own non-assignment based, I can also try to help. Okay. Anything else before we adjourn? No. Okay. So all the best. Could I take up other modules as well? Okay, I'm doing another module is RM. I used to do SM stuff, so I try to cut down on my teaching because I focus more on training and coaching now. Yeah, I will share the notes. After this, I will share the notes. Cut down after your batch. Okay, and then this I'm available. Every time you have a question, you just send email to me, and I try to give you feedback as and when I can. All right. Okay. You want to take a photo? Mohan. See there.
No one to say. I think the students all love you. You recommend you.
But teaching 100 old people it's not easy. Yeah. I think my record was 200 old people.
Well done, sir.
Yeah. So you want to take a photo or not?
Yeah.
Yes. So you put on the camera, then Mohan will take a photo, then Mohan will send to me after. At least I got the memento to remember.
Send to us also lah.
Yeah. Send to everybody. Okay, Mohan. Switch on your camera. Take photo.
Okay.
Anytime you're ready.
Okay, ready.
That's all. One
I'll
one
send it to
screen
you.
only. One screen only. You got so many people, 6 screens,
Uh, give
Must
me a
take all the
second.
screens. Okay, not.
Okay, sir, all these have been recorded and all is taken.
Okay,
Thank you
good,
so much.
good. All right, guys. Thank you, everyone, and have a good time. Please start early, yeah. So at least you got time. Don't pressure yourself. Okay, now COVID. I mean, this MCO. I think you have a lot of time now. Sitting at home.
Students, is there anything else you want to ask me?
Yes,
I think it's
we wish if the doctor can take the lecture on strategic management. That is our request to the WIC if it is relevant. Yeah.
I'll put forward.
Thank you.
No, don't go forward. Strategy very hard to teach,
That's why we need you.
Ask you. Yeah.
Okay, I'll see what they say. And if let's say even I'm not teaching you, if you feel that you have something to ask me, you can always send me an email, right? I'm not just because I'm here to help. Okay? Sharing is caring.
Really appreciate you, Jeff. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank
all
you.
right, Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very
Have
much.
a good weekend, huh? Have a good weekend.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
doctor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, doctor.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.